Okay, welcome to Friday Coffee with Xenium. I'm Brandon Laws, and I'm facilitating a discussion with Sarah Bradley. You're at
Good
Xenium.
morning.
How are you, Sarah?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. As we were talking about before we were going live, things were kind of smooth sailing this morning with the kids and getting them situated. So it's
Yeah,
it's
my
nice
my
when we have
husband
those mornings.
yeah, my husband actually knew I had this chat, so he took both the kids
Oh,
to
that's good.
daycare this morning, got him a little donut, and I had a little free time to myself. So
That
perfect.
is fantastic. Well, I'm glad to have you on. So this started. We're talking about wellness and well-being, and this started because I saw that you had done a presentation for a client, and the slide deck that you had was amazing and just great content. And I'm like, everybody could use this right now. It doesn't matter if you're a leader, a contributor level employee, or just struggling at home and need some tips. So I thought I'd bring you on
Absolutely.
to have a discussion. And people who are live right now, we have plenty of people watching, so feel free, if you're on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, feel free to write in some comments. um, Tell us where you're listening from, tell us what you're drinking for coffee or tea. I've got my black coffee right here. um, but feel free to tell us, like, what you're struggling with, anything like that. And luckily, we actually promoted this in advance, and we have a ton of questions from people who plan to engage. So let's start with
Yes.
this, Sarah. I think
Yeah.
the why behind all of this is really important. So, what areas of our life, what areas of wellness should we really be focusing on when we talk about like well-being holistically?
Yeah. Well, to start, I think that's a personal thing. I think wellness looks different for everybody, and it's multidimensional. So, I think for some of us, we might think that wellness is just a physical feeling. How is our physical health?
Right.
But it also includes our mental health, spiritual, financial, and even environmental. So, do we feel safe in the environment we're in right now? So again, I think that's a personal thing. And it also is something that can change over time based off of what's happening in your life.
Yeah. You and I are both working parents, and we both have unique situations. You've got basically a newborn right now. How old is your
Well,
new?
he's 9 months,
Oh
but
gosh, time's flying by.
it's
Unbelievable.
gone fast. Yes.
Yeah, and so what's that experience been like for you? I mean, when you talk about well-being, when you're balancing all that, trying to work and just manage the household, like what is that experience like for you?
Yeah, so I have two boys, 3 years and under. So and two working parents in the home, and we do have some part-time help, which I'm very thankful for. But
It's
in the
great.
beginning of the pandemic, we lost daycare, and we were just trying to make do, and it was really challenging. I think just being pulled in so many different directions, people needing you, whether it's at work or your kids. And that was to be honest, it was a terrible feeling because you just don't have the time or energy to be present at all times. It's gotten better. We've gotten some care,
Yeah.
some daycare back into our life, and things have calmed down a bit. But I think it depends on the day. Some days I feel like I'm on top of the world and doing really well, and other days are tough. So yeah, it's been an interesting ride, and this is something we live and breathe, wellness. But again, I think just to be transparent, it's difficult for everybody right now.
Yeah. It's interesting what you just said, because yesterday I facilitated a discussion with the Xenium team on like we do a book club like probably every 3 months, and we did The Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And just what you said, because she's saying, like, you say yes to something, you're giving up on something else, and it's like you just can't be everywhere. And so asking for help is really important to your just mental well-being and just
Absolutely.
family life. So I'm so glad that you have help now, because early on when everything is shut down and it's just daycares and schools, like I don't know how everybody does it. So
Yeah, it's
definitely.
it's been insane, and I think that's where employers come in. How can we support our employees through the
Mhm.
challenges they're facing right now? We were sort of thrust into this work from home environment. And I think it's really important now that we're, a year in, how can we go back and really take a look at what we're doing for our employees, and are they doing okay? How can we better support them?
Yeah. When people or organizations intentionally focus on wellness, what kind of results can people see from this? And there's a lot of
Yeah.
areas that you were talking about, like spiritual, financial, physical, mental. There's a lot of areas of wellness to focus on. So, if you do that, what can you expect?
Yeah. I think when from a personal experience, when I holistically feel healthy, and I'm in a good state of wellness, I have improved energy, which correlates to being able to combat stress or any challenges that come my way. Also improve relationships. You have the energy and time to put into relationships, whether that's personal or at work. And also, I think one of the more apparent things might be just the decrease in serious health issues that might arise, when we take care of ourselves. And greater productivity. And, that's one of the main things I think that I've seen. When I take care of my health and do the things that I know I need for myself, whether it's getting a lunchtime workout in, I can come back to my work and have greater energy and more productivity.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like when you take care of yourself, you have energy to take care of other people and serve your clients and
Yep.
so many other things. And that's why there's like books written on putting on your oxygen mask first. And why as a leader you need to take care of yourself first, because how are you going to show up every day if you don't have your stuff put together? It's
Absolutely.
really hard because everybody's going through something. We're all bringing whatever we have with us at home to work and vice versa. So it's all connected.
Yeah. And one of the things, from a personal standpoint that I've had challenges with is I'm in a client facing role. And
Right.
I have high expectations of the customer service and care that I have for my clients. And, but truly I have to understand that unless I put energy and time into my well-being, again, I can't serve them to my best ability. So it's important to take care of yourself first.
Let's get into some of the questions that people submitted in advance. So,
Yes.
one of the things that I'm really curious about is how much or little employers should be getting involved in this whole wellness stuff. Like, are they responsible for it, or is it at the individual level that we're responsible for it? How do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it goes both ways. It's I think from an employer standpoint, I think there's resources that we can offer to employees, such as the employee assistance program, maybe gym memberships, massages. I think the most important thing that employers can offer is just the time and the green light to say, hey, go take a workout on your lunch break, and employees feeling that it's okay to take care of themselves. And if an employer does all of that, at that point, I do think it's up to the employee to take some initiative to take care of their health. But I think it starts with the employer and continues with the employer to do check-ins with their employees to see how they're doing and encourage them to take care of themselves. And also model that from a leadership standpoint.
I was going to say that too. Like, modeling is the most important thing. I think employees are always watching. And if you have a leader who is like talking out one side of their mouth saying like, oh, you should focus on wellness, and then they don't do it themselves, I'm
Yeah.
not going to follow that. Like, employees are just going to work just as hard and grind out as their leader's doing. But when a leader might publicly say, I'm taking a mental health day, let's destigmatize that for one. And I think by
Mm-hmm.
leaders talking about it, I think change can actually happen. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. And I don't know about you, but coming from a sports athletic background, I think for me, health was always a physical mindset. And being in this pandemic and just what we've experienced in the last year, I don't think I knew how much I needed to focus on mental health and how much it does affect our everyday life. And so if we don't focus on it, it turns into employees being absent, lost productivity. There's just a number of things that can come from not being able to focus on our mental health and taking it seriously.
So here's a biggie.
Yeah.
The separation of work and home life. I mean, being at home, everything sort of bleeds together. For those that are actually not they're working at home, not going into an office. You literally walk from your room or wherever you're coming from right into your office and start working. There's no commute time. There's no nothing. So the separation is just non-existent.
Yeah.
How do you separate those two?
Like you said, I think that is challenging, and we're a year in, and I think some of us are still trying to figure that out. I think the biggest thing is to set boundaries. And that in itself is difficult. And I think what that looks like is first identifying what your non-negotiables are and priorities in terms of work and personal life. And using that information to set boundaries, communicate to your coworkers and management if you can, and hold yourself accountable. So, for instance, I can speak for myself. The area I'm sitting in right now is actually in our master bedroom.
Really?
Yes. And so I will tell you that it's difficult. This is the physical space we unfortunately have. I wish I had an office, but we just don't. And in order to separate myself, I try and leave my room when I'm not in a meeting, because otherwise I'm sleeping and working, 9-10 hours a day in the same room. It's a lot. And I would say the other thing is if you do have a separate physical space you can work in, apart from where you unwind and relax, that's the best thing, but we don't always have that. So it's putting away your laptop. It's putting away the papers on your desk that you can see, the things that might give you stress when you're trying to relax.
Right. Yeah, because the part 2 of this question was like, it feels like I'm always on responding to emails. And yeah, I mean, if you don't put away your phone or you don't put away your laptop and it's always within an arm's reach, you will feel like that. And I think you also, like, by responding in off hours or engaging with people in off hours, you're not only setting a bad example in a way, and I do it all the time. So I'm just trying to model like what idealistically it would look like. But if you are responding to people in off hours, they're gonna see that behavior, so then they're gonna know that they can catch you at all times.
Yes. It's a vicious cycle, because then they're gonna expect more of you and that same type of behavior. That you're gonna respond at 8-9 p.m. or the middle of dinner with your kids.
So that always on term is sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in a way. Like you almost create it on your own, but then by doing it, people will continue to hit you up at those times because you're doing it. So you're right, it's a vicious cycle. The way I think to get rid of it is to put your phone away or to not respond. Set limitations.
Set those boundaries. And I think what's been helpful for me is, again, identifying what your priorities are. I know that dinner with my family is really important. And from 4:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m., it's just chaotic in my house, and I need to attend to my family and children. And so what's been helpful is instead of feeling guilty about that, because there has been times where I do feel guilty about that, that I should be working. But it's just communicating to your manager and coworkers, hey, this is my time with my family. I can't reply to you right now, but I will later this evening or tomorrow morning. And so I think just that communication piece for me has really helped to lessen the guilt that I might feel for not always being on.
Right. This next question, I'd love to hear from audience members what they're doing here. But how do you keep yourself motivated day after day in the working from home uh, just environment? Is there anything that you do, or have you mixed things up? Like, I would just love to hear from you what keeps you going.
Yeah. Again, I think this is different for everyone. But something that resonated with me recently and that we talk about quite a bit within my team, and I think Lacey, my manager, is even watching here, but something we've talked about is, when things are feeling monotonous, or I'm in my bedroom, so many hours in the day, what are the things that fill you up? And how can you incorporate those things into the responsibilities you have for the day? So, for me, how I stay motivated is taking a look at some of my responsibilities that are on my plate, and where can I add in things that really fill me up, that I'm interested in. And I think the second piece of that is important is connecting with people. For me, that is something that is motivating. And I think we've, of course, lost that when we're not in the workplace anymore. If there's a way that you can connect with people that you work with via Zoom or just even a phone call, I know we're so, over Zoom sometimes, but I find motivation through the great relationships that I have. And that might even be from a friend outside of work. It doesn't have to be, someone within work.
Yeah, to your point, the whole motivation thing, it's a very personal thing, and so it's different for everybody. And that's why I'm curious what people would say about it, and so I'm hoping people would write in some comments about what keeps them motivated. But if I think about myself, it's getting, for one, it starts with getting a good night's sleep, and maybe even understanding what my priorities are for the day. So just having a plan in itself and being refreshed is, to me, motivating. You talked about relationships and connection. That is so key for me. I get energy from other people, and without the face-to-face connection, it's tough. But Zoom and Microsoft Teams and other things, it's the next best option. And so it's what we got. And I do feel motivated from that. I will say too that I often, and maybe you have your own model for how to get exercise, but in the morning, typically I will put on workout gear, and I'll do calls throughout the day, and people will see me in my workout gear. But it's motivation for me, because I know that, like, when I'm feeling burned out throughout the day, I'm just gonna take a break and go get on the Peloton bike or whatever for 30 minutes and just get refreshed. And to me, that means the second part of my day is gonna be like I'm gonna have more energy again.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that keeps me motivated.
Yeah, I agree with you there. For me, physical activity also is a motivating factor. And I think one of the other things for me too that Lacey and I actually just talked about was opportunities to learn. So if I'm having a rough day and the work that's coming across my plate is maybe things that are not super motivating, where can I find an opportunity to learn something new? Because for me, increasing knowledge is motivating for me. It makes me want to jump back into work and, consult better, help people. So another thing to think about there.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I really hadn't thought about that, where if you're learning new things and you're staying curious and asking new questions or meeting new people, that's motivation in itself, because you're just like, oh, wow, I just unlocked this whole different part of my brain and learned something new that I might be able to apply. I mean, that's really cool. Since we're on that topic of just learning, is there anything employers can do, or maybe even you as an individual, that could help ignite the learning experience a little bit more while working from home?
Again, I think providing resources and time and communicating that it's an option, and encouraging employees to take the time to do it. what's interesting too is a couple of our team members took a virtual training together. This was a couple months back. And what they said, it was actually a good opportunity for them to connect and almost socialize with each other. And I know that sounds odd, but you know, we're in the situation we're in right now, and I just wanted to bring that up. That's a way that team members can connect right now, is taking a training together and, you know, following up after that and connecting on what they learned and what they took away. I just thought that was an interesting piece of information from our team.
Yeah. Since we're talking about connection with people, one of the questions that came up was, you know, the Zoom happy hour. I think people are kind of burned out from that. It's just, I mean, I've been on them too, where you're like, you do a happy hour, there's like 25 people on a screen and you're not sure who can talk. And it's just, there's nothing coordinated about it. It's just like a kind of a free for all. And I think people are burned out from that. So if there's anything you can think of, and I have some ideas too for like, how do you create a connection with people in a virtual environment that's not as boring as just a simple Zoom happy hour? Like, any ideas from you?
Yeah. Again, this is a real challenge, and I think it's going to differ depending on your employee base. But I think some of the things that we've had positive feedback about have been, you know, things such as virtual or virtual tea or coffee tasting, or even
wine tasting.
You know, wine tasting, learning how to make a cocktail. My husband actually, he had a box sent to him prior to a team building meeting with all the things that he would need to make a cocktail, and they had a bartender who facilitated, and then they'd have breakout sessions where they had some smaller conversations with folks. And I think the important thing right now is you're right, in those virtual happy hours, if there's not structure, people don't necessarily want to participate because things are really busy right now. They may have children they got to get to, and I think we just see more participation if it's a structured activity. And I know you know, being on our Excite culture team within Xenium, some of the games that you have put together have been really fun and engaging. I don't know if you want to speak on that.
I can speak to the things that we've done and the things that I want to do that I just like haven't found the time for. But we do a book club, as I had mentioned. So we pick a book and then people sign up for it. And then we usually have like 25, 30 people sign up. And then usually, you know, stuff happens. And I think yesterday we had about 12 people on the call. But there is structure to that. So that's always fun. We do breakout groups in our all team meetings, and those are always fun to start the meetings, getting people talking and engaged. So we usually structure a couple of questions and then put people in these random breakout groups to interact with people they probably don't. I mean, it's randomized, so they probably have, you know, it's cross department and just don't get a chance to interact with them. In the past, we've done what's called Zen Connects. It's like we randomly pair people up and like send them a gift card or something to buy coffee, and they would have like a one-on-one with somebody that's not in their department. They, you know, probably don't work with very often. And then, you know, we give them some conversation starters if they need them, but otherwise it's just sort of this organic, like, get to know you sort of thing. And, you know, we're trying to build connection and trust across our organization. So I think activities like that are helpful. I mean, we've done fun games like trivia. We use an app called Kahoot. That's really fun. I think a lot of schools use it because it's got kind of a whimsical interface to it. Something free is Scribble.io, and that's basically Pictionary, but in like a group. You just go right to that website and you could like start a Pictionary game. But I think you need Zoom or something to do the virtual piece to it, and then otherwise you can just play the game. And then something else I really want to do, but it's just a lot of coordination, would be employee resource groups. There's probably a lot of different names for them, but basically like little cohorts and groups of like, I don't know, hobby, like there could be hobbies or a topic or something. Like, let's say we had a group of employees that were really, they really wanted to take the DEI initiatives forward. And so they
Yeah.
could get together and discuss it about how to improve this. I mean, there could be a wellness cohort. There could be, um, I mean, a mini book club. There could be whatever, but like these employee resource groups of people who, have interest in the same thing or want to
Right.
learn or something, and that's a way to connect. So I've heard of people doing that, and I like that idea.
Yeah, absolutely. And or even just, projects within the organization, pairing two people up that wouldn't normally cross paths or associate
Yeah.
with one another. That's a way to build connection. I think it's important to talk about one-on-ones and
Oh
small
yeah.
team meetings too. Those are things I think we don't always include in terms of a source of connection, but it really is. I think we've had some really impactful conversations in what was meant to be just a weekly team meeting. And it has really built trust and connection between our team. So just those simple one-on-one conversations, how are you doing? Talking about things going on in the world and how that's impacting us.
Yeah.
Further builds connection for sure.
Let's go back to the individual level. There's several questions that people asked, and I think it would just be really good of us to talk about it out loud. So a question that came in, it's very specific, but this person asked, should I feel guilty about doing chores in between work tasks? I want to know what your perspective is on this. I have my own answer, but what do you say to that?
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Um, I would say I hope you don't.
Yes.
um, the caveat there is, are you getting your work done? So hopefully you're in a place where you might have some autonomy with your schedule and flexibility with the work. But as employers and managers, I think we're looking at the overall package. Are you performing and completing your work? If so, I think taking 5 minutes here and there to put clothes in the washer is not a big deal. And given the circumstances we're in right now, that's sometimes what we need to be doing. There's times when I have to step away for 30 minutes. I know Tyler talked about this on the last live show with you, but to take care of our children and then coming back to work when we can. So I do resonate with feeling guilty at times. And again, the thing that has helped me push that feeling aside is just communicating to who I might need to within the organization what I'm doing, or I'll be back in 30 minutes once I put my child down for a nap. The communication piece has been really important.
What you said about like, are you getting your work done? I think that's the paradigm shift that a lot of employers, managers, they need to make in their mind, is the butt in the seat thing. That's a
Yeah.
thing of the past. I
Yeah.
mean, I hope people who are listening are in a position where they manage people and they realize that results are what matters at the end of the day. And that's how performance is based on. Like when you do performance reviews or one-on-ones or check-ins and base people's performance, are you really basing it on people like, oh, I saw that you were sitting from 9 to 5. Congratulations, you did your job. No, nobody does performance based on that. It's like, did you get the work done, and how, like, what was the quality? Are you serving your clients? Like, whatever it may be. So the answer to the question of, should I feel guilty about doing chores in between work tasks? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Everybody needs a break, and it kind of coincides with this like other question, which is, what are tips for not sitting at your desk too long? It's something like that. It's like, if you need to go change the laundry or unload the dishwasher, like take the dog for a walk, whatever it may be, just stand up.
And these are things that, circle back to your overall wellness and how are you feeling? Because the better we feel physically, mentally, spiritually, the better work we can produce, and I think that's what we're all looking for, to be successful at work, and our employers are looking for us to be successful as well.
Yeah.
So ways not to sit in our our seats. I think some of the things any opportunity to take a meeting outside. So one of my old employers used to call it a walk and talk. Stepping away from Zoom and going back to just a cell phone conversation. If you need to do a one-on-one conversation and get some steps and fresh air in. I think standing up during meetings or trainings, again, if you have the opportunity in a screen that might raise, getting in some squats right after a call or during a call, turning off your video for a second if you don't want someone watching.
That's smart. I like that.
And I think too, strategically positioning maybe your water bottle in the kitchen, so you have a moment you need a drink of water, you got to walk into the kitchen and step away. It's being strategic and mindful of what you need. If you're feeling like you need to get up, to step aside and do it, and know that it's okay. And overall, it's improving your wellness.
Yeah. One just kind of work and productivity tip that's related to this that I want to share is, if you're scheduling a meeting and let's say it's 60 minutes, for example, let people out at 55 minutes, give people 5 minutes in between meetings. A lot of people are scheduling back to back. And I think when you give them that 5 minutes, they can get up for a walk, go to the restroom, get a snack, whatever, like just clear their head before their next thing. Because too often I'm seeing people going from one thing to the next with no break in between. And like, if you're sitting the whole time, like that's just not healthy. So I encourage you, if you're facilitating a meeting and you're in control of the agenda, let people out. If it's 30 minutes, let them out at 25, 27 minutes. If it's an hour, 55 minutes.
Yeah. There's been, I've heard from some employees that, they've had so many back-to-back meetings that they don't even have an opportunity to eat, and it's like, that's not the work environment that we want for our employees. That's going to lead to overall burnout. And again, we don't have the energy to put back into our work and to serve clients or customers. We need the opportunity to take care of ourselves.
So I scheduled this for 30 minutes. You got an extra 5 minutes or so, because there's
I do.
Heck yeah, this is great. Exercise. We were talking about exercise a little bit, but how do you schedule exercise throughout your day? Any tips for individuals who are like, I just need to get more exercise, but I don't know how. Maybe they don't have the equipment or the resources, but what's your perspective on this?
Yeah. So first thing that comes to mind is, the start of the week, I would say I take a look at my schedule, my work schedule, and then also what does my personal life look like? And I, at that point, try and identify some times that I can block out on my calendar, or maybe it's before work or 8 p.m. at night after the kids are in bed. I try and identify those times early on in the week and hold myself accountable to them. Because again, I know that when I spend time on myself, especially in terms of exercising, that's one of the main ways that I feel energized. I can put more back into the relationships I have and the work that I produce. There's a lot of, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, there's a lot of companies, fitness companies, offering free resources in terms of exercise programs. So if you don't have access to weights at home, a Peloton, it's raining outside, there are a lot of free resources out there that can really support you in terms of getting out that physical energy.
Yeah. Do you think employers should, at this point, provide any sort of wellness services like exercise, gym memberships, anything like subsidies for that?
Yeah. I think that's a great perk. I think, again, the caveat there, and something that's super important, is encouraging employees to actually use it, providing the time for employees to use it, and modeling that from a leadership standpoint. I think we can pay for people's gym memberships, but if they have so much on their plate and can't step away from their desk, or reprimanded for stepping away for an hour, like, it doesn't make sense. So I think the bigger piece of that is making sure that we are providing an environment where employees can step away for a moment and focus on their health.
Yeah. You've said it several times, the modeling. I think, for managers and leaders listening, you got to step up. I mean, it's a challenging time for everybody, and especially for employees who feel like they need to grind it out all the time and they're just not focusing on their well-being. Model that behavior, because I think it's going to make everybody better. It's going to be ingrained in your culture if you do it that way. And I think that's just that makes a culture pretty special. People want to come work for you and they want to stay there if they see that type of behavior and it's encouraged. So I think it's good stuff.
And that translates to it's not just I'm going to exercise on my lunch. A person in leadership saying that it's my child is sick. I'm going to take the day off and take care of my child. That's also part of our wellness, being able to take care of the overall needs within our personal life. So again, another place where leadership can model that, and it really impacts our employees.
Yeah. On just the holistic well-being side of just, what can employers be providing for employees? I've seen this thing floating around on social media, which is kind of funny and ironic at the same time, but it's like employers give an employee like let's say like a lunch and learn how to meditate or mindfulness or whatever. But it's like, no, like that's, watching a webinar on my lunch hour is not quite cutting it. Like, what can employers do? Like, what resources are there available? What should they be doing to encourage people to take control of their wellness?
Yeah, I think talking about it, communicating that what we're going through right now is been really difficult. Normalizing mental health, and making it a priority within the organization, and encouraging again employees to take the time to focus on what they need. Continuing to ask questions on how employees can be supported and how they're doing just really means a lot.
Well, Sarah, this has been so much fun. I mean, this is a huge topic and something that people, like you said, need to continue talking about. What resources have you come across from like, free apps and things like that employees, really anybody could, download or access that's going to help them with this whole conversation?
Yeah, so like I said, there's a number of larger companies such as Nike and Peloton that are offering some of those free exercise programs that you can watch. I think Orange Theory is actually doing a 30-minute free workout on their website every day that you can go stream. In terms of like mindfulness and meditation, there's also apps like Calm and Breathe. I think 10% Happier is a popular one. Journaling. I think you recently have talked about journaling has been part of
therapeutic. It really is.
Absolutely. If meditation is not your thing, maybe journaling is. It's a moment for us to pause, to take time for ourselves, to get some thoughts out on paper, and maybe that's something that helps your overall wellness. So there's a lot of apps out there, and maybe, something we can talk about in the future is putting together a resource page for our clients and listeners. But
I'm looking at a resource page that you put together right now, actually. That's just why I prompted you to answer that question. But I mean, tons of great links and stuff. And it's nice that there's so many of these free resources out there. One thing that I found early on when I was like working out at home a lot was YouTube is a great place to find so many exercises, and they're, some of them don't even require equipment. So that's not even just exercise. I mean, there's meditation and all sorts of stuff on YouTube. So that's a great resource as well.
And then also, I mean, if Instagram is your thing, there is there are a ton of people on Instagram that are offering free workouts as well, whether it's not necessarily a live video, but maybe a list of certain workouts that you can do. And a lot of them too, we may not have the resources such as weights or dumbbells, those type of things. So again, finding ways to exercise and focus on your health without using that equipment. There are resources out there available for that.
Yeah. Sara, this has been amazing. You're amazing. Thanks for providing so much value to the audience and all that. Where can people, if they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Yeah. So I am, an employee of Xenium, sorry. And I have an email address or phone number. But yes, I'd be happy to connect with anyone who might want more information. Please reach out, and happy to have a conversation with you.
Awesome. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Have a great Friday, and look out for, we'll keep doing these live streams, and feel free to reach out to me in LinkedIn or wherever. And if there's topics you want to learn about, I'll find the expert on it. So thanks for tuning in today. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Brandon.